diving deep into one of the most tangled relationships on the planet, the one between the United States and Iran. And we're going to look at why a country like India is watching every single move so closely.
It's almost hard to wrap your head around, right? But these two countries, they went from being basically best friends to absolute archenemies. We're talking a complete 180-degree flip.
So that's the big question, isn't it? What on earth happened? How do you go from that to, well, to this? Let's get into it.
Okay, so to really get a handle on this, we've got to start with where things are right now. And right now, the situation is tense. We're talking about Iran getting closer and closer to a goal that could literally change the global power balance.
And here's the thing. According to the source, from Iran's point of view, this isn't about starting a fight. It's about survival. They see a nuclear weapon as the ultimate insurance policy, a non-negotiable way to guarantee their security against huge powers like the US and Israel.
And wow, this quote really lays it all out there. The source frames this as an all-or-nothing situation. It's not just some political move on a chessboard, it's seen as a real existential threat that could completely redraw the map of the Middle East overnight.
And then there's this. This isn't just a news report, it's pure symbolism. Raising a red flag like this, that's a tradition that goes way back. It's like a cultural signal that things have gone beyond just talk. It suggests they're mentally preparing for a real fight. But to really understand how deep the hostility runs today, you have to go back in time, back to a period that seems almost impossible now, a time when these two were actually friends. And this part is so crucial because it explains that deep, deep sense of betrayal that's still fueling this fire. I mean, just try to picture this for a second. In Iran, that was one of America's closest allies. A place where American culture wasn't just tolerated, it was cool. The schools, the colleges, they were modeled on the American system. Society was looking west. According to this source, it was a totally different world. And then 1979 happened. This was the earthquake. A revolution that didn't just topple a government. It completely redrew the political map of the entire region. This is the moment everything shattered.
This is when Ayatollah Khomeini comes to power. And his whole platform, as the source explains it, was a total rejection of that pro-American era. He saw Western influence as a disease, and he set out to purge it, bringing in a super strict Islamic identity for the country.
Okay, and if there was one single moment that sealed the deal, it was this, the Iran hostage crisis. This wasn't a disagreement anymore. This was a direct attack on American soil, a violation of the embassy. It created this wound, this deep scar in the American psyche that, you could argue, has never really healed. This is where the hostility became permanent.
And the U.S. tried to get them back. But the rescue mission was an absolute disaster. A sandstorm, helicopters crashing, it was a catastrophe. For the United States, it was this moment of intense public humiliation. But for the new Iranian regime, it was a massive victory. It proved they could stand up to the superpower and win.
So you've got this huge conflict halfway across the world. Why should India care so much? Well, as the source lays out, it's because of a really important, really pragmatic relationship that India has with Iran.
First things first, it comes down to money. And we're talking about incredibly cheap oil. The source puts the number at just 27 rupees per unit. I mean, that's a price you just don't see anywhere else on the global market. It's a massive economic lifeline.
But wait a second. You've got all these international sanctions on Iran, right? You can't just wire them US dollars. So how does India even pay for this stuff? Well, this is where their relationship gets really clever.
Basically, they've built their own little economic bubble to get around the sanctions. It's a mix of old-school bartering, we'll give you our goods for your oil, and paying in their own local currency, the Indian rupee. They just cut the US dollar out of the equation completely. It's a genius win-win setup that protects them both from outside pressure.
And it goes way beyond just the cheap oil. For India, Iran is strategically vital. It's a gateway, a physical trade route to Afghanistan, Central Asia, even Europe. It's a nearby gas station they can count on in an emergency. And, importantly, having Iran as a player in the oil market helps keep other big producers, like Saudi Arabia, from having too much control over prices.
All right, so let's zoom out, because this isn't just about 2 or 3 countries. It's a huge, complicated chessboard with a lot of powerful pieces, and they're all making moves.
And this is where the source makes a really provocative and you could say pretty cynical claim about why some conflicts in the region just never seem to end.
So the argument laid out here is pretty blunt. It said America could wipe out groups like ISIS, but it doesn't, because perpetual war is good for business. If there's always a conflict somewhere, there's always a demand for American weapons. It's a cycle of instability that, according to this view, keeps the defense industry booming.
So when you look at this table, it becomes crystal clear. Everybody has their own agenda. The US wants to keep Iran in check and sell weapons. Saudi Arabia wants to be the king of the Middle East. India is laser-focused on that cheap oil and the trade routes. And Iran? For them, it's all about one thing: survival.
Yeah, so if you're looking for a simple good guys versus bad guys story here, you're not going to find it. What you have is this tangled web of history, ambition, and just plain economic necessity. It's messy.
And at the end of the day, it all comes down to these three things, doesn't it? National security, making money, and having influence. Every single player on this board is motivated by some combination of those three things. The conflict comes from the fact that they all prioritize them differently.
And that's really the question the source leaves us hanging with. In this giant high-stakes game of power, with so much on the line, who's actually winning? Whose side is time really on? It's something to think about. Thanks for tuning in.